Welcome to Everything Co-op, bringing you information on how cooperatives can help improve your quality of life. This show is being sponsored by the National Co-op Bank, NCB. The NCB is dedicated to strengthening communities nationwide for the delivery of banking and financial services for the nation's cooperatives, their members, and other socially responsible organizations. For more information on the power of community ownership, visit ncb.coop. That's ncb.coop. Now stay tuned for your host, Vernon Oakes.
Good morning, everybody. This is Vernon Oakes. Welcome to Everything Co-op. This morning, we have the absolute pleasure of having Monica Armster on with us this morning. She's a senior advisor at USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture. Good morning, Monica.
Good morning, Vernon. Great to be here with you.
So glad to have you on. It's been a while since you've been on, and you've changed jobs and you've changed where you live. You have all kinds of change in your life since the last time we talked. What is your job now? What do you do with the Department of Agriculture?
I am currently serving as a senior advisor at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and I'm working closely with the implementation team for the Discrimination Financial Assistance Program. As you know, in 2021, I was appointed Deputy Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights, and I had an opportunity to work in that role and lead civil rights at the USDA for a little over 2 years, and shifted roles to my current capacity as senior advisor. So it has been an exciting opportunity to participate in what has been transformative change at USDA.
Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, Monica, so you're in agriculture. You're a black female in agriculture, and it seems like I don't think about black females in agriculture. How did you decide to go into this work?
That's a great question, and I am asked that question all the time because often I'm in rooms where there aren't many people who look like me. And I like to say that my journey started back in the 10th grade with $10. My guidance counselor had approached me about a summer camp in agricultural sciences at Florida A&M University. And at that time, I was very involved locally with our 4-H program. And so this was a perfect opportunity for me to get exposure to careers in agriculture. And I spent a week at this camp, and I think my parents knew from there that I was destined to work in the field of agriculture. And I was so excited about all of the individuals I met at the camp, but started my journey as a student at Florida A&M University, majoring in agricultural business. And what I've learned, Vernon, even from that experience, is that kids cannot be what they cannot see. And so I think about the fact that I was so impressionable in high school when I started to get exposure about agricultural opportunities. And I think certainly that has led the way for the path I chose in life.
Yeah, but you say you were in 4-H. What caused you to go into 4-H? Because I grew up in Bluefield, West Virginia, and we had 4-H at the high school, but that wasn't anything I wanted to be involved in. So how did you decide that?
Well, 4-H really was for the cool kids, and I was influenced heavily by two older sisters who were involved in 4-H, and my parents, both my mother and my father, were 4-H volunteers. So my father would drive the 4-Hers to camp during the summer, and as the younger kid, I was able to just ride along with them. So I knew all of the 4-H pledges and songs before I was even a member of 4-H. It became a family affair for us, and I went on to compete in 4-H livestock judging and county and district and state competition, and I even became a master 4-Her of Georgia. So that experience also was one that really helped to shape my career destiny.
So I'm in Washington, D.C., and you are now in D.C. also. You live in D.C.? You in that area?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So a lot of students that may hear this, 10th graders and so forth, may not even know what 4-H is. So what is 4-H?
4-H is a youth development program which exposes you to agriculture, certainly, and careers related to agriculture, but so much more. I'm impressed. I recently attended an event in Washington, D.C. with 4-Hers, and I was just impressed at the breadth of topics and projects that they now have, including technology, which is very big with today's students. And so I am really impressed about the development of leadership skills and opportunities you have in 4-H. And so I encourage students today that even if you didn't grow up on a farm or in a rural area, to really think about pursuing opportunities in 4-H. I do a lot of public speaking, and people often ask me, well, how did you learn how to become a public speaker? And I have to say it goes back to my training in 4-H and being able to compete at the local, district, state, and national levels. And I often laugh because I was on my county's livestock judging team, where livestock judging is where you put 4 animals in a pen and you have to give reasons why you rank the animals the way that you do. And so I think that was probably my first training for being a lawyer, because I was able to create a position and advocate for that position. And, it didn't really matter whether you were right or wrong. It mattered how well you were able to argue your reasons. And so I think that was probably the best training ground for my ultimate career as a lawyer.
Okay. So now you've mentioned Florida A&M, and you've mentioned you've been a lawyer, and you started in 10th grade with $10 to go to camp. Okay. Fill in the rest of this. How did you go from 4-H to Florida to law school and now USDA?
Well, I talk about that USDA camp that was sponsored through Florida A&M University, but that camp also led to other opportunities through USDA. For example, during college, I was an intern at the USDA and had a great internship out in the field working with honey producers down in Fort Pierce, Florida. And so it was the first opportunity that I ever had to work around bees. And I thought I was terrified of bees. I had a full bee suit, and my job was to work with the USDA staff to go into these honey houses and ensure that the honey producer was complying with their loan terms. So we had to verify that they had the honey on hand, but that sometimes meant that I was covered in bees as I inspected these honey houses. And so it was experiences like that that really got me into the roots of agriculture and really understanding the importance of what producers do and how the USDA supports that vital work by providing credit and loans to those farmers. And so it was through those internship experiences, one with the USDA, then internship experiences with the Federation of Southern Cooperatives back in 1996, that I started to really understand some of the challenges that farmers often face in trying to get those critical resources and credit that they need from the USDA. And Vernon, if I could, I just wanted to make a point here that internships are so important in terms of exposure for students. And I'm so proud that under the Biden-Harris administration, we have made historical investments in creating a pipeline, next generation of diverse food and agriculture professionals. And Biden-Harris has invested $262.5 million in projects that will create training and support for more than 20,000 future diverse food and agriculture leaders in this program. And so I'm so excited that those type of opportunities, and that one came out of the Inflation Reduction Act, will create this pipeline and next generation of students to come behind me.
Okay, how would somebody out there get information about that? That's exciting to me, too.
Yes, we have information on the USDA's website about these projects that are being sponsored at minority serving institutions. So if if you're a student or if you have a student who is interested in majoring in agriculture, there are a number of agricultural scholarship opportunities through this program, and there are others, 1890 Scholars Program, which is at all of the 1890 institutions for students who are interested in majoring in agriculture. So I certainly encourage you to visit our website to learn more about these opportunities.
All right, I want to say one thing here, and it adds to something you said earlier. For those students out there, you may not even be interested in agriculture because you may not know anything about it. Go get one of these interns so you can see if it's something you may want to do. If it's not in agriculture, it may be in technology, because technology now, the farms are using a lot of technology to produce the right kinds of ag at the right kind of time, using the right amount of water and everything that goes into it. So I would just suggest, because I was talking to a student, a young man that didn't have an internship this year. And I think he would have been great to have this kind of experience, because you said, which I want to use, kids cannot be what they can't see. So go see it. Go look at it. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
And we have to start much earlier, Vernon, making sure, I was exposed very early. And, certainly by high school, many kids have already kind of decided what their career path might look like. So I am a big advocate of, let's start as early as possible, exposing kids to opportunities in agriculture.
Okay. All right. So now you're in the Biden-Harris administration at USDA. Talk about your experience at Florida A&M, and then where did you go get your law degree, and why?
So my journey to becoming an agricultural lawyer was largely based on some of the experiences I had as an intern. I mentioned that I interned in 1996 with the Federation of Southern Cooperatives. And this was a time where Black farmers in particular were experiencing the difficulties of trying to get credit, to be successful, to hold on to their land. And the Federation is one of those leading organizations helping Black farmers on land retention, cooperative development, and advocacy. And so as an intern, I had the opportunity to work closely with their land retention professionals and learn about heirs property, learn about why Black farmers had lost since 1910 about 15 million acres of property, and what some of those root causes are of Black land loss. And I think just learning about that issue prompted me to really want to learn more about policy development and how ultimately Black farmers are impacted by programs and policies oftentimes that they can't access to make their farms more profitable or to hold on to their land. So that really encouraged me to want to pursue a career in law and understand the way we get our farm policies here in the United States.
Wow. And see, in the 10th grade, 5th grade, even in college, I would have never thought about that as a career. So those interns really helped to shape your life.
Absolutely.
Where did you get your law degree?
So I have a law degree from the University of Florida, which is a great school. Go Gators. And I actually learned in law school, I took a job as an agricultural law assistant with a professor. And the professor, had a very large influence on me. His name was Dr. Michael Alexa at the University of Florida. And I learned that there was an opportunity for me to continue my legal education. And there was one program in the nation that offered a master's of law degree in agricultural law. And so I applied for that program once I graduated from the University of Florida and continued my education to the University of Arkansas. And that was a great decision. It allowed me to develop a specialty in agricultural law. And I think at that time, I became one of 4 Black women who had ever done that degree program.
Wow. You got a law degree, then a master's of law. You heavy.
Well, thank you.
Yes. All right. Then you went to work for the Federation of Southern Co-ops?
I did. Once I graduated from my Master's of Law program, I received a call. And the Federation said, we have a unique opportunity. Our Georgia office is headed by Shirley Sherrod, and everybody knows her. She's legendary. And Ms. Sherrod had decided to take a 1-year sabbatical. And so they said, we have an opportunity for a new director in that office while Ms. Sherrod is on sabbatical. And so we'd like to see if you're interested. And I said, absolutely. And so I started my legal work in Albany, Georgia, working with farmers. And really, I was more of a farm organizer. This was in 1999. And what I didn't know was that at that particular time, farmers were experiencing a high level of injustice at the USDA. And I started organizing farmers at that time. And I would organize farmers, and we would get on buses to travel all night to Washington, D.C. to protest at the USDA. And I just, often think of those all-night bus trips to Washington, D.C. and the motivation from hearing the stories of those farmers about what they experienced when they went into USDA offices to try to get loans or to try to participate in agricultural programs. And those stories were sort of interwoven with civil rights chants and songs that we would sing on those buses. And so I have to say that experience really molded me and lit a fire in my belly. And I just couldn't let that go. And so I knew I was in the right place. And I knew that this was an important assignment, that my trajectory in the legal profession would look different, that I really wanted to devote my life to more public interest law, and that this was the right time. And so the protests that we participated in Washington, D.C. would actually become the foundation for the USDA ultimately acknowledging that that minority farmers, Black farmers, women farmers, Hispanic farmers, Native farmers had experienced discrimination at the hands of the USDA. And there would be some class action lawsuits and claims processes which would flow out of those efforts in 1999.
All right, so you came to D.C. on the bus singing civil rights songs with farmers because, and this is what you talked about when you were on the show the last time, and that was that farmers would go into USDA offices in Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, all through the South, and maybe all through the North too, but at least you were working in the South. And they not only didn't get help, didn't get the loan, or didn't get the training, or whatever else the USDA was providing for the white farmers, they didn't get that help. They were often belittled. So, yeah, you got the fire.
Yeah, and, I want to say that it feels like a full circle moment. Yesterday, I was with the White House as we announced the Discrimination Financial Assistance Program rollout, and it really felt like a full circle moment where this administration, the Biden-Harris administration, has centered equity. President Biden made a commitment from day one to address discrimination at the United States Department of Agriculture, and he has delivered on that promise.
So this Discrimination Financial Assistance Program, How much money do they have in that program?
So the Discrimination Financial Assistance Program was created in 2022 by Congress, and Congress appropriated $2.2 billion to provide financial assistance to farmers, ranchers, and forest landowners who reported discrimination in USDA farm lending.
Oh, Monica, I'm sorry to cut you off, but you said 2.2. That's a B, billion, not M.
Billion. Yes, sir.
2.2
billion.
Billion dollars. Okay.
Yes.
So President Biden delivered, and he had to go through some hurdles, I believe, too. Some people didn't want that program to go through.
Well, certainly, there have been challenges with implementation, but we have gotten the job done, and we have gotten out assistance now to 43,000 individuals, and we are excited that this is going to be much needed resources to keep individuals on their farm and to provide the resources that they may need to reboot their farms.
43,000 individuals are going to receive awards from this $2.2 billion. That's what you just said? 43,000
Yes.
people
Yes.
have been discriminated against.
43,000 people who applied for the program and acknowledged or reported that they had experienced discrimination in USDA farm lending programs.
Black people, brown people, Native people, women.
So this program is not just about Black farmers. The way the program was created, it is a comprehensive program, and we've had certainly included in that 43,000 are diverse individuals who represent many different types of backgrounds. And so, we were clear that anyone could apply for this program, and I think we received applications based on all different types of covered bases, whether that was race, gender, certainly sexual identity, disability, religion. Any of those covered bases could have been ground for your application.
Okay. And Biden, Harris are Democrats. They didn't discriminate against the Republicans, did they?
Absolutely not.
I know that. I know that's true. Okay. So you said this just happened yesterday, this announcement?
Yes. So let me just give you a little background on the program. I'm watching the Olympics right now, and I like to think about the journey that most of our Olympians must face. But we have been on this journey now for over a year. We started the application process last year, July 7th, and we have worked vigorously to stand up a program. Congress, as I said, created the legislation for this program in the Inflation Reduction Act. Once that was signed into law by President Biden, USDA began immediately to hold listening sessions and meet with stakeholder groups to ensure that we had input from our stakeholders on the overall program design. One of the things that Congress directed was that USDA contract with non-governmental entities to manage the entire application process. And so USDA contracted with 3 non-governmental entities to administer the program with oversight from the USDA. The USDA set the standards and regulation for the program, and the non-governmental entities administered the program.
So let me talk about you personally. How was that fire in your stomach yesterday when this was announced? How excited were you?
I can't even describe the excitement. It, again, is a full circle moment, and I recognize that this is just another step forward. We often talk about the USDA in terms of being the people's department. That is what President Lincoln called the USDA. And so yesterday felt like an important moment in USDA's history and in its journey to becoming truly the people's department, one where everyone who wants to participate in agriculture can. And so while this financial assistance is not compensation for anyone's losses or the pain that they've endured, and trust me, I know firsthand what it means to lose a farm, to be foreclosed on, to be dispossessed of your land. And so those stories are full of pain and trauma. And
Monica, we're going to have to take a break. I'm sorry to cut you off, but we've heard a little bit about your history and growing up in 4-H and going to college and becoming a lawyer, and the excitement that you shared yesterday with this program that was announced. We'll be right back to talk more about what Monica has been doing and what she sees for the future. Please don't touch that dial. Welcome back, everybody. This is Vernon Oaks, and the program is Everything Co-op. And we have Monica Rainge on with us today. Monica, this October, we will celebrate our 11th year on the air, and just extremely excited about it and glad you're here with us this day. But the National Cooperative Bank has been our main financial supporter and cheerleader all of these 11 years. NCB's mission is to support and be an advocate for America's cooperatives and their members, especially in low-income communities, by providing innovative financial and related services. Money always turns out to be a huge capital. It's huge in any business, and it's extremely huge in farming. You have to have the capital for the land and all of the things that you do to farm or bring up whatever you're going to produce. And that's why this Discrimination Financial Assistance Program is so extremely important. And that's what you were talking about before we took the break. So can you continue talking about that?
Yes. The Discrimination Financial Assistance Program is designed to help farmers stay on their farms. Farmers over the last few years, including the pandemic, have dealt with a number of economic blows, and they continue to face economic challenges. And so we're hopeful that the awards that will be coming from the Discrimination Financial Assistance Program will help farmers keep farming, stay on the land, or to acquire more land so that they can continue to work the land. And so we recognize that this is an important milestone for the department in acknowledging discrimination that has happened in the past, but it's also going to be a valuable investment for those farmers who need these resources right now to keep feeding the nation.
Wow, that is so exciting. I didn't have this far in my stomach about farms and farmers that you've had, but I'm excited about this for people to be able to stay on their land. And you mentioned that 15 million acres we lost. Do you have any sense of how many acres black farmers own right now?
I don't have the most recent number in front of me. I think there have been estimates that number is somewhere near about 3 million acres today.
And I wanted, you had told me that before, so I got it. It's about 3 million. So to lose 15 million, that's 5 times what we currently have. So that's huge. I just want to put in perspective of that. So let's talk about what are some of the other accomplishments of this, particularly as it relates to equity, of the Biden-Harris administration.
Well, I certainly think the Discrimination Financial Assistance Program is a big step in terms of helping to implement the equity agenda that President Biden set on day one when he signed the executive order on equity towards underserved communities. But there are comprehensive department-wide efforts to center equity and prevent the need for a program like this in the future. So one of the things that I want to be clear is that while we are excited about this program, this is only a one-time payment, and it is a part of a much broader effort at USDA to improve equity and access and eliminate the barriers to its programs for underserved individuals and communities. And once President Biden signed his executive order on equity on day one, the USDA created the first ever Equity Commission. And the Equity Commission has been a commission of professionals from the outside who have helped to really evaluate systemic changes needed at the USDA to advance equity. And so after 2 years of work, the Equity Commission published its recommendations for the Secretary that would address racial equity and issues in our programs and services and strengthen accountability within the USDA. Let me give you an example maybe of how we have seen some of those recommendations already playing out.
Okay.
We've seen so far some improvements in our farm lending process. So when farmers come to USDA and they would like to get a loan, we have improved the process to make sure that we are better serving farmers. One of the things that we did was we streamlined the FSA loan application. Most people will agree that the federal government uses too much paper. And so we realized that our loan application was 29 pages, and we could reduce some of that to 13 pages, dramatically reducing the amount of time it takes for a loan application and making the loan process a lot less onerous. Another thing that we were able to do is we launched the Farm Loan Application Fast Track pilot program to expedite loan underwriting for certain qualifying applicants using underwriting criteria based on financial benchmarking data. In December of 2023, USDA announced an online, interactive, guided application that can simplify the direct loan process for more than 26,000 customers who apply each year and make it more accessible for those in remote areas or who may not have time to leave their operations and visit an FSA office.
So where would one go to get this application at the USDA.gov webpage?
Okay, you can go to our Farm Service Agencies page and you can find information about how to apply for our farm loan programs.
Fantastic. And I'm sorry I cut you off. I just needed to get that out there because I know some people that may want to apply.
Awesome. And one of the things that we realize, and I think my work as a farm advocate, is that oftentimes with Black farmers or other minority farmers, they face challenges of trying to complete all of the paperwork. And so it is helpful to have the technical assistance of a community-based organization like the Federation of Southern Cooperatives to walk with them through that process, whether that means going directly into USDA offices with them, helping them to fill out their loan applications. And so the Biden-Harris administration recognized that we have to continue to build partnerships with community-based organizations. And in the American Rescue Plan, more than $100 million was invested to support projects for underserved farmers and ranchers to ensure that those farmers and ranchers have the technical assistance that they need to successfully complete loan applications and walk through that process.
Wow. I'm getting more and more excited over here, but you give him a lot of information about how to fill out these applications. And when you go from 29 pages to 13 pages, and then you have a fast track, and you have some technical assistance to help you fill it out, that's all extremely good. Extremely good. Do you have any examples that you know of where people have applied and what the results have been?
The department collects data on the application process. And so each year we evaluate how well we're doing and how we can make improvements. So we are continuously engaged in process improvement based on the data that we're seeing. We are working with our partner organizations to know where we need to deploy more resources and how we can better deploy those resources.
So Monica, I have told people that USDA has more knowledge about co-ops than any other department in the federal government. I don't know if that's really true, but that's what I believe. That's my sense, because farmers have been using co-ops. So how has the cooperators been involved in this whole process that you've been describing?
So we engage with partner organizations, cooperators, and really that is the lifeblood of our success. I think one of the things that I've heard the secretary say is we don't often do a good job of talking about all of the different types of programs that we have available. So we need partner organizations to carry the message out to the masses and to ensure that we are connecting people to USDA resources. And I can give another example of a program that has worked very well is our 2501 program.
2501?
Yes.
Okay.
Which it stands for 2501 because that is the section of the Farm Bill that it was created in.
Okay.
But that program has essentially been an outreach and technical assistance program for more than 30 years. And it allows the USDA to partner with organizations to help reach underserved farmers and ranchers. And with 2501 funding, organizations can conduct education, training, farming demonstrations, and conferences for farms and agribusinesses. And earlier this year, USDA announced approximately $22.3 million available to community-based and nonprofit organizations, institutions of higher education, and tribal entities that help underserved and veteran farmers and ranchers own and successfully operate their farms. So these programs are, again, the lifeline to making sure that all farmers have access to opportunity, that they know how to connect with USDA, they know what programs can benefit their operations, and that they have someone to walk with them in this process.
So Monica, about 5 weeks ago, I went to a conference in St. Paul, Minnesota called the National Black Co-op Agenda. And there may have been 250 people there, mostly African Americans from all over the nation. And one of the themes that kept happening, it kept coming up, was land ownership and farming, which I was kind of surprised because a lot of these 250 people were urban folk. And they were talking about access to food and good nutrition and what's needed in black communities is that. And there's something called the NABC, National Association of Black Co-ops. How can you get information to this group, or how can we get information to this group about all the programs that Department of Agriculture has?
Well, there are a vast number of programs at the USDA. And I think one of the ways that we encourage farmers, producers, community-based organizations to connect with us is through our Office of Customer Experience. That office has created an extensive portal, and it's referred to as the CARES portal. And it will provide you with navigation tools. The USDA is a huge organization. And so I have days where I have to think twice about how to navigate the USDA. And so I know a producer coming in trying to find information about a program certainly needs some navigation tools. And so we've created those tools. And we have a portal in place called the CARES portal, which will allow you to basically do a word search and find information about the topic or the program that you're interested in learning about.
So I went to USDA.gov, USDA.gov, and when the main page came up, there's a search button, and I put in CARES program and our CARES portal, and it took me to the agency, USDA CARES partner portal. Okay, so this is where one can go to get information. Can you get information about how to start a farm?
Well, this is a site that may be most helpful if you are a partner organization or an individual. You can certainly find some good information, but it really, going to the main site might be also a place, depending on what your issue is. There is a breakout, usually in the menu of each website, each web page, that will talk about different issues. So if you, for example, are a new and beginning farmer, we have extensive information on the website about opportunities for new and beginning farmers. And so if you search around one of those big topics, you typically can find a lot of the information that you need that way.
All right. This 2501 program, how much money was in that program?
$22.3 million this year.
And that program has been around for 30 years, you say. $22.3 million. All right. I had no idea that USDA has a bigger budget as it has and does all the things that it do.
Yeah, President Obama used to say that the USDA is like a Swiss Army knife. It is the only agency that we could build an entire city, because we cover everything from housing to wastewater, and everything in between. Obviously, the food and nutrition, which is what most people think of us for, but when you think about how productive our rural development programs are and impactful, food and nutrition, conservation, housing, these are all areas that greatly impact the infrastructure, both certainly in rural areas, but also in urban areas.
Well, does the WIC program come under USDA?
Yes.
And that's providing nutritional foods for women, infants, and children. I just looked it up on the webpage, on USDA.gov. Okay. So it is huge. Monica, with your background and focus in agriculture, both undergrad and grad in terms of law school, what do you see for you and what's in your career? I mean, as an example, can you see yourself as the Secretary of the Department of Agriculture?
Well, I tell you, I am just here as a servant, and I have truly enjoyed the opportunity to be a part of the Biden-Harris administration, and particularly to work for Secretary Vilsack, who has been a visionary leader. Only God could have orchestrated this whole plan. Again, I am a country girl. I was enjoying working with farmers across Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, South Carolina, Texas, Louisiana. And I thought I was doing a really small thing. And, apparently someone took notice of that. And so I am just truly grateful for this opportunity. And, I think that it will certainly make me stronger as a farm advocate. And, the information, I think once you have seen the inner workings of the department, it certainly changes your perspective in some ways. But I think in a lot of ways, it strengthens your perspectives because you understand better how things work. And, I think that fire that I told you I felt in my belly on those buses is even greater now. It's a wildfire now.
Okay.
And so I think now I've had a different vantage point. I've had an opportunity to see what's possible. And I think when you know what's possible, it challenges you to do more. And so I think that for me is what I'll really take away from this experience, is that there is so much more we can do. There is so much more that's possible. And I just appreciate having this opportunity.
So I would suggest to you that those farmers you were on the bus with and that you were helping and organizing in the states that you just talked about, like you said, you were doing small things, but to them, they were huge. Each one of those families, huge to have somebody to hear them and hear their plight and then come up here to D.C. and protest and get things changed. So you got things changed from the outside. I think it's something like where much is given, much is expected, and if you take care of the small things, God will give you bigger things. I think that's what my Sunday school I learned.
I love both of those.
So keep doing the small things and doing them well, and God will give you bigger things, and that's what's already shown in your life. And I have it that you have so much more that you can do with the training that you have and the fire in your stomach and what inspires you. So let's talk about the future a little bit. What do you see for the USDA, for black farmers? What do you see happening in the future?
Well, I see the USDA being repositioned to really build trust with underserved producers. We want those producers who may have decided, you know what, I don't think there's a place for me at USDA. We want those producers to come back. We want them to know that the doors are open and that we are focused on expanding opportunities which will help every farmer be a success. One of the things that I often hear from the secretary when he speaks is that for too long, we've been the department for a few, and we want to be the department of many. And so I'm inspired by his leadership and his vision for how do we continue to remove barriers so that every farmer has a shot, that the farmer who looks more like me has the same opportunity as his white neighbor to be successful. And so we want to make sure that we are creating a level playing field for farmers to be successful, that we're really committed to that. And I think the equity initiatives that we've centered in the Biden-Harris administration are things that will create systemic change. These aren't one-offs. These are things that will continue to change the way we think about program design, program delivery, every policy and regulation we make. And so these will be changes that we hope will create a new experience for people who are coming back to the USDA, and we're going to still have to work to earn their trust. And so we recognize that, but these are changes that we're proud of. We're excited about the changes that have been made so far, and we're not done. We're not done. I'm reminded that we still have about 6 months, well, today, 5 months left in the Biden-Harris administration. And we are not walking, we're sprinting, because we know that there is still quite a bit to get done. And we want to make sure that we leave everything on the field.
And VILSAP's department has existed for a few in the past, and they want to create the department that is for many. It's like we the people. And I find it interesting that the Department of Agriculture was created as a people's department. No, and it's in the black community, and you know this better than I do, Department of Agriculture was not viewed as a friendly place for black folk. And it sounds like you're turning that around.
Well, again, it's not just even black farmers, but it wasn't a friendly place for women farmers, or it wasn't a friendly place for small farmers, or native farmers, or Hispanic farmers. And so what we know is that we can do better. We can do better. We can create opportunities where agriculture looks and reflects the diversity of America as it should. And so we believe strongly that we can achieve that.
So we have a minute left. So what message would you like to leave people with?
Well, I think the message that I want to leave with people is, in education, we often hear the phrase, no child left behind. I believe we can imagine a world where no farmer is left behind, and that every farmer has a fair opportunity to feed themselves and their communities, and that they have access to land and credit, and that those farmers can become economically successful. And so, when I started this journey in 1999, it felt like we were fighting for just a shot at a seat at the table. And in 2024, it feels like we're not just fighting for that seat at the table anymore. It feels like we're looking at the table.
We got to go.
And we're reading.
I got it. We want more people at the table. I got it. Everybody out there, thank you, Monica. We'll see you next Thursday. Please live cooperatively.
The preceding program was paid for by Everything Co-op.